This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Rock, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
What up, though? This is Knockout.
This is
Hand up, do the same with the right as we celebrate the life of the one and only Sheiky, baby. See, he probably didn't know me, but this is for the homies, for the main eventers, way down to the jabronis. Fire off a tweet, call Hulk Hogan weak, for the one and only Sheiky, baby. Yo, it's crazy. Ever since I was a little guy, seeing them in a tag team with Nikolai. Volkov, the dude, would go off on legendary rants whenever he got the chance. From the ring to the shoots, Sheik was living his truth. Put your back in a curl like his signature boots. From most hated to most impersonated, a Hall of Fame career can never be understated. Probably more famous for his raves and rants than for being the first and only Iranian champ. Guess they slept on him like Persian rugs, but you saw him get busy with them Persian clubs. And nobody got heat like the Sheik when he pretended to spit on the hard concrete at the mention of the U.S. He was one of the truest. One of the reasons it's still real to us. He hated Terry before we knew that we would. Used to wonder why, now it's understood. So I figured this was better than a tweet. Much love to the Sheik. May you rest in peace.
What up, though? It is another Thursday. This is Knockouts and 3 Counts. That's right. R.I.P. to the Iron Sheik, who passed away yesterday. But boy, there you go. Right on cue. Look at that. Coordinating and stuff. But man, do we got a lot to talk about. We've got the return of our guy, Jimmy the Brick Flick, before he steps back into that UFC cage next Saturday, June 17th. And I mean, if you are betting, man, you know, we already are telling you what way to go. Jimmy, how the hell are you, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, man. Finishing up training.
Oh, froze up.
Oh, no. We have these problems.
Technical difficulties. You got to love it.
Okay. We have these problems all the time. It's fine.
We'll get that taken care of. There he goes. Jimmy, you back? There it goes.
Oh, another froze face.
It's like something that froze on him again. Look at that. Mega Ran's rap froze him up real quick. There it goes. Looks like we got him back. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I can hear you.
I got my
Wi-Fi.
You froze. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you're all good now. It froze up for a second. Go ahead.
But I said I'm ready to go, man. Last hard week of camp's been finished up, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, what are we, 9 days out or something at this point, man? I mean, what's the mentality going in this close to the fight? Are you more so focused on, because like you say, training camp's wrapping up and everything. Are you more so focused on like mentality going into the fight? Are you more weight focused at this point? Where are we at in the ending of camp?
Last night was like my last Shark Tank, where I do 3 5-minute rounds with a fresh partner every 2.5 minutes. And we did good and felt good, felt strong. Now just, hitting technique with coach, making sure everything's firing the way it needs to fire, and, taking in the good foods I need to take in for this weight cut. And shout out to Icon Mills. They've been hooking us up. They hooked me up 6 weeks out. So I've been having meal prep. It's freaking awesome. They have good food too. It's amazing. So my physique is good. My body's good. So yeah, now everything's just tightening it up and just, do everything right to make sure the cut's good and show up and show out.
If I'm not mistaken, last time we had you on, we were talking about weight cut too with the Icon prep meals and stuff. But you were saying, though, you with the pre-prep meals and stuff like that, the weight cuts aren't as hard as they used to be. If I'm not mistaken, you were saying that.
Yeah, it helps out. I mean, coming home and just being able to heat up meals that are good for you, instead of going spending money on junk food or, stuff
Uh-huh.
we shouldn't be eating, that we
Facts.
want to say that's healthy, so it just helps out a lot more. And if you can stay disciplined with it, it really does help with the weight cut and the training. And you see the weight come off throughout the weeks of training, and 6 weeks is more than enough time. And I'm sitting right now at a solid 138, feeling good. So I'm excited.
Well, coming off of your last fight, obviously things didn't go the way that we all wanted them to see it go after you came on the show the last time. But tell me, now that you've had time to go through this camp and prepare for a new opponent in Alessandro Costa, tell me, what were the big takeaways from that last fight? What are the biggest things you learned, and how do you feel like you can implement those to make a difference in this fight?
Well, in that last fight camp, man, dude, I had a lot of stuff mentally, physically, and emotionally, going through the
Mhm.
things of life. And as bad as I wanted to get back in there as fast as possible after the retirement, it probably wasn't the smartest thing. I probably should have took more time to train. But you live and you learn, and Charles is a tough dude. I don't take nothing away from him, but I was just afraid that I was going to blow my gas tank because I ain't been in there so long. Uh, and I didn't want to push the pace like I usually do. And I was pretty disappointed about the stoppage. I really wish I could have got a second round to see if I could have changed it up. Because I got a couple takedowns that just didn't solidify them good enough. I think because they came to me a lot easier than I thought they were. Because Charles is not that easy to take down. So it kind of shocked me that I got it so easy. And the first time he flipped me over, and then the second time I just got too eager to take his back. So I've slowed down in camp, making sure I get position before submission, and I'm looking to be dominant in this fight. And I did everything in this camp. I got all my running, all my sprints, all my training, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. It's been a great camp, and everything fell into place. And they gave me a good solid 12 weeks, and I'm excited. I got a opponent that's a little shorter than me, but throws with a lot of power. Basically, I just been telling people he's a little stocky Brazilian pit bull. He comes after you, and he's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got a flying armbar on his record. I believe he's a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he's actually training down out of New Mexico with that Diego guy, that Diego Lopez that
Okay.
just fought,
Okay.
and shock the people with
Yeah.
fighting 14-0 whatever guy. So I'm excited, man. I think it's a great matchup, and it's gonna be a great fight. He's coming off of a loss to Albazi, who's gonna be like number 4 now, and he put up a tough fight before getting knocked out. He's 0-1 in the UFC. I'm 1-1 coming off of a loss, and neither one of us want to have back-to-back losses. So I think that makes for a great fight, and I'm excited.
Does that take any of the pressure off for you? Because that was something actually I was going to ask you. I feel like that's a great spot for both of you guys. Like you said, you're both coming off a loss. Both of you guys are hungry. I feel like it makes for nothing more than you guys got two guys who are going to come in here and scrap. But does this make you like this matchup anymore versus anything else they might have offered?
All right, man. At the end of the day, I'm fighting for my job, man. I'm 1-1 in the UFC, and I got 2 fights left on my contract. And we know contracts don't always get fulfilled unless the UFC
Mhm.
wants you to fulfill them. So win or lose, I gotta go out there and make a statement. I gotta fight. I gotta make it look good. I mean, and I want to win in good fashion again. It'd be nice to go get another bonus, going into my 4th fight into the UFC, having 2 bonuses, 2 finishes, and get past that loss to Charles and move on. I lose here and my job's in jeopardy, so that's my biggest worry. And I bet he feels the same way. So I think it's a great matchup, and I think it's smart for the UFC to get 2 hungry flyweights in there that really need a win and going to put on a good performance.
I mean, it couldn't be on a better weekend as well because it's got an action-packed weekend. And we're actually headed out to Chicago as one of our past guests and former UFC vet himself, Bobby Nash, is over there making his debut for Bellator the night before on Bellator 297 card. You got Sergio Pettis and Pitbull, and then you got Nemkov and Yoel Romero. It's going to be a banger down there in Chicago, man. MMA is as hot now as it's been in a long time, man. I mean, how much when you're not in the cage? I mean, I know We'll talk about it in a little bit and maybe get you to make some picks with us for this weekend's UFC card. But I mean, how much are you watching of what's going on, not just in the UFC, but outside of it when you're not training?
Well, I used to all the time, man. And now that I train nonstop and kids and stuff, I kind of, I'm not watching as much outside of the UFC. Honestly, like Bellator, they don't advertise like they used to. I mean, and to be honest, I don't even know where you watch Bellator anymore.
Man.
Like, I
could
couldn't
tell you
what
stories.
it's on. Yeah, and I just now finally found out that ONE FC's on Prime, and my girlfriend had Prime, so I've been able to start watching those again. Like, there's a good card this Friday I'll be watching, and but Bellator, yeah, their promotion is just like as to where to watch it and what time and everything is just not as popular as it used to be, man. And so and then LFA, I always catch LFA when I can, of course, but haven't been able to as much here lately. Like I said, I get up early to train and I train late and, manage my time as much as I can. So right now, like I said, training and keeping my job is most important to me, but I do love fighting, but mainly UFC every weekend. If it's on, I'm catching it for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with, and they got that schedule and they got the top athletes for the most part. It's hard to miss the UFC when you're, and like you say, man, Bellator really is not doing themselves any favor when it comes to production and the promotion, should I say, really, because every time we bring up one of their events, we do like a little segment here called Corey's Corner, and that's normally where it gets brought up, is in like my little 5-minute spiel of like, hey, make sure you check out this, and this, because they're not telling you that it's even.
And it's crazy because we're talking about a banger card. You've got 2 title fights that are both going to be banger fights. Like I said, shout out to past guest show Bobby Nash, who's going to be fighting Kyle Crutchmer. You got 2 All-American wrestlers out there, bro. That's going to be a fucking banger.
Oklahoma, man.
Hey, man.
That's a good one, dude.
Yeah.
It's going to be a banger, dude. And then the thing is, what people sleep on with that fight, they're like, oh, Crutchmer's got all the wrestling. I'm like, you guys forget, because Bobby's been knocking fools out. Bobby wrestled at Michigan State. You don't get much better than the Big Ten wrestling. So I feel like the wrestling might cancel each other out, and we might just see these boys get in there and bang. So I'm looking forward to getting down there to Chicago. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be there with the homie Mega Ran. Shout out to him for the Iron Sheik rap at the beginning of the show. We're going to be down there at AEW Collision for the debut episode on TNT Saturday night. It's going to be a hell of a weekend in Chi-Town. And shout out to Darren McCarty. We might be seeing Tommy Vendetta break a few light tubes. But yeah, that weekend's going to be pretty badass.
Glad night before my fight, so that's good. I'm glad Bellator more.
I like when they do that, when they don't try to go head to head, when they actually,
I think
realize,
it's smarter.
Like, yeah, it definitely is smarter. Like, even PFL, I paused it to be able to do this interview and stuff, but they're running tonight, same thing, so they can have their own night. That's such a huge thing in combat sports, is being able to have your own night, whether it's a weekday or not, whether it's a Sunday, whether it doesn't really even matter, but being able to kind of lock down that hardcore fandom for a little bit. It's always hard to drag casuals in, but when you can at least lock down the hardcores for the next 2 to 3 hours because there's nothing else to watch, that's always the best move, in my opinion, at least.
I mean, look at it this way: you can't have Saturdays no more, because for like the next 4 months, there's a freaking UFC.
They literally said that on the last card. There's a UFC card every weekend,
every
for the
Saturday
next 4 months.
for the next 4 months. Like, so just cut Saturday out.
And as a UFC athlete, what's your thoughts on the fact of such a heavy schedule? Is it nice for somebody like you? Say you come out and get a huge, impressive win in the first, you could make a quick turnaround because of the fact that they are always running fights and stuff like that. Or does the fan side of you kind of stick out, where you hear these, fans sometimes talk about the not as big of cards as they used to be, and not quite stacked to the level that they used to be and stuff? What's your thoughts as an actual athlete in the organization?
Yeah, man, like you said, most definitely for us athletes that want to stay active and fight and get paid and make the UFC happy, it's great. and what people say, like, it's not stat cards, but if you go back and look, I mean, the fights usually turn out pretty great. It's just they're not huge names. That's it. You know,
and
everybody's got to make.
like I try explaining to my friends too, all these guys that are not people you know yet and stuff, they're all people that would be main eventing any other promotion in the world, you know, for the most part, except for like the Bellators and the PFLs. They just haven't had the fan, you know,
spotlight,
the audience in front of them yet to build their name up. And that's where I think the UFC really does a great job in shining with a lot of these young prospects.
Yeah, they've been doing great with it, and I think that's why we've had so many of these fight night cards. And I just wish they'd get out of the Apex. I'm tired of the Apex.
I agree 100% with that.
I mean, outside of that, I just want.
I mean, I don't mind the Apex every now and then, but I don't know about every other weekend or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's what kills me as a loyal Detroiter and somebody who doesn't always get the chance to travel outside the city, being family and kids and stuff. It's not always the easiest thing to just up and leave. We haven't had a damn card in what, 6-7 years or some shit. I know COVID.
The last one was 20. It was 2018. It was when Max Holloway fought Jose Aldo here.
Yeah, and this is there's Michigan's notorious for having a good fight fan, city and state in general, and we just haven't had no cards. And I think the fact that they keep running all these, granted, smaller fight nights and stuff, but at the Apex, it really is taken away from the fan experience of what it used to be.
Yeah,
well, I think my bad. Go ahead.
Because it's like $1,700 a ticket, dude.
Ooh.
For the Apex,
and then.
Yeah.
And then you got Tim Elliott coming out last week talking about they took away the athletes' comp tickets as well for the Apex events. So they don't even get the two,
is what he's saying. I guess when they fight with fans, they get comp tickets. Well, I've fought a freaking time and I've never got comp tickets. So comp tickets never been a thing for me. So, and, but what it is tickets are like $1,700 a piece. And if you want front row, they tell you to buy in twos, but it's considered like a VIP experience. So I'm pretty sure, like, since it's so close, I think they give you free drinks and stuff too. But still, like, last Charles was the first fight. There was less than 50 people there, and it was 1:00 Vegas time, dude. Like, it was. I had to wake up at 6:30 in the morning to have breakfast just while it would settle before I headed to the venue at 10:30.
Yeah, that's crazy, especially for the amount of stake that's in these fights. I mean, like you said, right? You win or lose in this one, you're worried about whether or not your job is still on the line, even if you do get a win. Sometimes the UFC does crazy things and stuff, and to have the fact where you are at the Apex, you don't even have your family available to see you. To your point, you're waking up super early just so that you can let your food digest. I mean, that it doesn't sound like the best of circumstances for professional
Plus, the crowd
athletes.
just makes it more hype in general, man. It's something about a fight when you can have that crowd roaring around you, whether you're on the winning end, the losing end. It just makes a fight altogether better. I feel like some of the reason why we're seeing what we're seeing with the Apex is because, and ironically, now that they're the same parent company, I feel like UFC's kind of adopted a page out of the WWE's book where, like in the WWE, I mean, granted, you do have Roman Reigns, who's been champion forever, but overall, it's about WWE, the company. There is no like one big star like when we were kids, like Stone Cold or The Rock or whoever. It's more about WWE is coming to town. The same within UFC. UFC has such a monopoly over the best talent in the world that it's not so much about, I want to go see this fight card because Chuck Liddell's on this card, or I want to go see this fight because Brock Lesnar's on this card, or whatever. It's, I want to go see this card because the UFC's coming, and I know the UFC's got, the best fighters as a whole. So I feel like that's kind of why we see that with the Apex, but I agree. I definitely would like to see it go back out.
Question I pose all three of you guys. Kyle, you know how this goes with, like, especially with wrestling and house shows and smaller venues and stuff like that. Do you think that they could do potentially like circuit loops, like around the Midwest? Let's say you do 6 shows in 8 weeks. Could you potentially do smaller venues, sort of like the Apex, I guess? Not exactly.
I
but
feel like the UFC doesn't want to do smaller venues though, because I feel like that's the same problem they said with where was it they were trying to expand to next? Was it Africa? And they said
Mexico.
the problem they were.
I think
Well, I thought
Mexico
they
was
said
the
when the
plan for the next
PFL
one.
deal came out that the UFC said they wanted to come to Africa, but the problem with Africa is there weren't enough big buildings that would hold enough people to make it worth it to go over there. Was the problem that they were running into.
I mean, I guess
So,
I wouldn't know the logistics, but like the Apex versus, let's say, your UWM theater that holds 2,200 people. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, I feel like stuff like that would work. I think it engage, cause more engagement, but at the same time, it might for UFC be a travel thing with trying to book people. Like I feel like it'd be a lot of work too. But
when Peter and Marab fought, they did it at like the Virgin Hotel in Las Vegas, and it didn't many, but it held a good crowd, and they haven't went back there yet either. I'm like, what the hell? I'm going to Vegas and you can book it there. Why don't we just book them all there then?
Yeah,
shit, you can go back to what they used to do at the Palms.
Right. I hate to burst your bubble on that one, but the reason why that one ended up taking place the way it did is because they had the Apex previously rented out for Power Slap. So Power Slap took
that damn Power Slap thing. Oh God!
I swear.
Damn Power Slap.
Put me
I almost forgot about that.
Put them in the Apex. Let's get us some fans.
Yeah, cute. Well, my thing is like, look at the contenders here, the Ultimate Fighter. You got the stuff going on in the Apex. Like that should be the beginning. That's the roots, right? That's where you start.
That makes sense for that to be there. Contender series and that
kind
of stuff.
Performance Center, Kyle, and NXT wrestling in the Performance Center. Now you get to a point where you get to fight in smaller crowds, bigger crowds. Now you made it. You're in front of the big crowd. It just comes with like the progression of being a fighter. I feel like. And I feel like that ultimately it makes for better moments in MMA, if you ask me. So
it's got to be hard as somebody who has experienced crowds in the past too, to then transition to the modern era where fights are taking place at the Apex and stuff. It's got to be a weird transition. It's got to feel almost like going back to the regionals in a way or something. Like you see some of these main eventers and stuff in there, even if it is just one of the, prelim cards or prelim fights on a pay-per-view or something like that, they're still used to fighting in front of, 20,000, 15,000 or something. And you put them in there with 100 people max or something. It's just, I don't know. I feel for these athletes, man. I feel like if you're going to do all that, if you're going to put all this work to make this your career and your livelihood, you should get a little more respect than that. And that's my opinion, I guess.
I get that.
I'm UFC and I fought less fans in the UFC.
And that's the thing. Pandemic changed so many things, bro, that it's like it's become like the new norm. Like, I mean, when you think about it, like between where we started a pandemic where you couldn't have anybody, and then now we're back to where they're getting crowds in some places, but I feel like we've never really fully recovered back to like full arenas like that, at least not every time in any of the promotions when you think about it. Maybe one's the only one that really has done that because Bellator's never had the numbers like they did again. Same everywhere. You don't really see like the full buildings everywhere we go like you used to. Before pandemic, whether it was UFC, whether it was Bellator, whether it was whoever, when you had a big enough fight, the buildings were full. I mean, Corey, you and I just got to go. We just got to cover our first world championship fight. Shout out to Darren McCarty, and we got to see Detroit's own Clarissa Shields throw down here in Detroit and defend her title. But I mean, even that, man, I just thought with it being Detroit, we would see much more. But I mean, maybe that's maybe part of that is just like the new. Maybe that's part of like the new way of the way people are coming out for fights. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I don't like it. But I'm ready to fight for the people. That's why I wanted to make it to the UFC in the beginning, is to walk out in front of it. Even at the Apex, when you walk out, the crowd is blocked off. And until you turn that corner, you don't even see the crowd. And then you have about 10 seconds, and then boom, you're there.
Yeah.
So it's just terrible. Like you said, the crowd's what excites us. the crowd is what brings out more excitement, the energy, everything. So I'm ready to go back to normal.
Well,
it changed the experience a ton at first when you had the silence and stuff. You could hear the corners talking and stuff. It was an interesting experiment, but to your point, what you were saying, J-Bone, I think it should be reserved for like the contender series, the tough fights and stuff like that.
Well, speaking of the tough fights, Corey, we just saw our guy Mondo Gutierrez throw down on Tuesday, man. That was a bummer, man. Our homie was over there fading Connor up. He had quite the fight in there. Got caught with a knee that was pretty nasty, but you got any thoughts on you caught any of the Ultimate Fighter so far, Jimmy?
Oh yeah. And Mondo made his pro debut on my LFA card when I won the LFA title. So,
I remember.
I've been following Mondo since then, and I think that's dope, dude. No matter what, that guy's got the story for the rest of his life. He got to fade up Conor McGregor. So yeah, I've been watching it. And next week, my boy Andrew McKenzie from Oklahoma City trains out of Lovato BJJ. That guy's a killer, former LFA lightweight champion. Dude's a monster. So I'm excited to watch next week's episode as well.
Yeah. What's your thoughts so far on the whole coaching situation?
I mean, it's good. I mean, I really like Chandler. I think Connor's part too. I mean, it's a great show, man, and I think they're doing great things. I've already learned some things from Michael Chandler over there with the wrestling last week, some things he was showing and stuff. I was like, oh, that's dope, So
put the cup to the leg. Scoop. I was watching it too. I was like, all right.
I was like, dope, man. I'm gonna try that out. So yeah, I'll always watch it, man. Been watching it since I was 15 years old.
You got any thoughts on who you think's gonna win between Conor and Chandler whenever that fight happens?
Man, dude, I mean, I think Conor could sleep him early, and I mean Chandler could do the same. I mean, and I think the longer it goes, the better for Chandler. But I think it could be a 13-second KO for Conor easily as well.
Surprised to hear you say you think it'd be better for Chandler the longer it goes, because Chandler's usually a let me get it in and out in the first couple of rounds, and by round 3 he's tired. So I
think they're both gassy fighters.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I just say that because of his wrestling. Like you Conor at the level as you are, but you're like a high level wrestler. You're gonna use that wrestling to grind him out. It would be my opinion, but you're right. I mean, they do both come out firing. That's why I think Conor could sleep him early too. Jose Aldo is a possibility right off the bat.
Yeah.
And Chandler's so explosive, so I could definitely see something going in his favor as well early too. If he catches Conor, out of place, he throws too big and misses or something. He's explosive and he's really quick in there too, man. His ability to like turn on people and hit angles and stuff, like what he did to Hooker in the first
he's
UFC
explosive.
debut. Yeah, it's just he's nasty with it. And to your point, with the whole coaching thing, it's kind of what I thought it would be going into it, with Chandler being a coach and Conor treating it like a reality TV show. And I feel like that's what it's been up to this point. He's definitely tried to make a relationship with a lot of his fighters, Conor being, but I feel like Chandler's the one actually giving his vets some valuable info in there.
Oh, most definitely.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Well, dude, since we're talking about making picks on fights and stuff, we got a UFC card and all those things, but talking about nasty knockouts and how this stuff could play out, we were talking about one that I saw outside the UFC from our friends over in Poland at KSW. Shout out to Bad News Ben Lagman. But with that being said, man, I got a knockout you guys got to check out. This might be the only time I've ever seen somebody get knocked out while they were in mount. Yeah, that's right. This guy was mounted and knocked the dude cold out. So check this out. All right. This off here. Play that there. Play it. That's insane, dude. So after about 3 times of watching that play. The first couple times I was trying to it took me a second to figure out, damn, where'd this dude hit him? And then to realize that that's from a short left hook like that. I've never in my life seen somebody get knocked the fuck out like that. Jimmy, you got any thoughts on the mounted KO?
Oh, dude, when I seen it, I was the same way, man. I was like, there's no way. We're always told don't punch from behind. Dude. And well, apparently this guy has proved everybody wrong, man. He clipped him right on the chin and put him out cold, man. Ugly.
It's got to be the most demoralizing thing because you wake up and you get knocked out and you go, what the fuck happened? I was mounted. How did I lose?
The last thing I remember is I was on top of him throwing punches and I thought I was about to finish it. Well, that's what happened. You were about to finish him and then you got hit with a clean one.
Man.
That guy in the UFC, what's his name? Ozkillik or whatever, got the that one choke when he was mounted on that dude called Big Baby, dude. The Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Mounted and tapped dude out, dude, from being mounted. So that was pretty dope too, but the knockout's way cooler.
Oh yeah, dude.
Wild, man.
Where was this
that you got? That was in Poland.
Okay.
Like I said, to do that, that's just nasty, dude. Well, talking about some nasty fights, you got UFC 289 this weekend. We know Jimmy always makes the brick picks, so we figured why don't we get the brick to help us make some picks for the main card at least of UFC 289. According to this, obviously we don't know how the order goes because that can always change up night of. First fight we got on the card, you got Marc-Andre Barriault versus Eric, your boy, Anders. You got a minus 135 for Barriault, and Anders coming in at a plus 115. Jimmy, how you feeling on this one, bro?
That's a tough one, man, dude, because I do like Anders. And then the Barriault dude, that dude is a monster too, and he comes forward. He's nonstop, man. I think it's a good one, and I think the odds are right, with Anders being a little underdog. But, yeah, I think Barriault's going to get it done.
Yeah, you think the hometown advantage helps, huh?
I just think his striking's a little better, and I think it'll stay on the feet. And Anders likes to strike. I think, that's what he likes to do too. And the barrier, he's good, man.
I just
J-Bone, who you got? Oh, my bad, Corey.
No, you're good.
Oh, am I going next?
Go ahead, J-Bone. Yeah, go ahead, J-Bone.
I'm with you, man. The striking, the hometown favorite, that's going to work in his favor too. I'm with Jimmy on this one.
Yeah, I always wonder how the Canadians are going to do when they're fighting in their home country because it's not every day they get to fight over there. But I agree with you. I feel like all things said, the way the fights normally play out, I feel like Barriault should be able to get it done. But Eric Anders has that ability to change things up if he implements that in the fight. Sometimes he comes in there so explosive and some people are just unable to deal with what he brings in there. And then sometimes he brings a kind of relaxed, just trying to make it through the fight type of game plan. And I think if we see the explosive, aggressive side of Eric Anders in this one, he may be able to get it done against the lesser striking in Barriault. But if he goes in there and tries to play it safe, I think he'll end up losing over 3.
So I got Barriault in this one, but I feel like if Anders wins, man, well, you got that plus 115 money. I think the money for Anders might be on a knockout because if you watch his last fight, he was super explosive in that one. I feel like his gas tank might be a problem in this fight if it goes to the third round. But I feel like if Anders wins, it's going to be by a knockout. But if you're asking who I think's going to win, I think Barriault gets the win. The next fight that we got on here, I feel like this fight could be a banger as well. You got Dan 50K Ige versus Nate Landwehr. I feel like this fight's going to be a scrap, dude.
It's a trap fight, dude. If you're a betting man, it's a trap. It's a good trap.
Dude, you could flip a coin and never know who's going to win this one, dude. But the only reason I'm going to make this one, though, I'm going to pick Dan Ige just because I think his punches are more straight down the middle and they'll be more down the pipe than Nate's. And Nate gets a little wild and crazy. He's a wild man. That's what he likes to bring. and Dan Ige looked really good in his last fight. Like, didn't he slept somebody with that right hand up, so I think if he's a sniper with that right hand right down the middle, and I think that's what could help him the best here. And he's really smooth with his striking. So, but I think that's going to be a great fight. Could be a decision and a $50,000 bonus for both guys as well.
It definitely could go that direction. That's kind of how I'm feeling his potential fight of the night on this one. But it really is one of those, like, does somebody land that big shot? Like you said, both of them being big punchers, man. I feel like both of them, if they're able to land that shot, very well could put the other one out. But I don't know, man. I feel like Dan Ige is slightly the higher skilled person, but yet again, like I was saying with the last fight, Nate Landwehr brings that. He's called the train for a reason, Like, he really brings that momentum in there, and he goes, like, improves a lot of people wrong, or at least in my opinion. He goes out there and really, shows out. So I want to say Dan Ige. That's what my head's saying, but I don't know in this one, man. Like you say, this is a real coin toss.
It's a trap fight, dude. It's a trap fight.
Who you got in the trap then, J-Bone?
Look, man, I think this fight is going to come down to who needs it more, and I think Ige needs it more. He's lost, was it 3 out of his last 4 or 3 of the last 5 or something like that? Landwehr, he's won 4 out of his last 5. Ige needs this fight, and I think he's going to go out there and knock him out, but I don't think it's going to be easy, man. I think you're going to see at least 2 rounds of just good boxing, and then by the 3rd round, I think he's going to sleep him. But still a trap fight. You got to really, if you're a betting man on DraftKings, you got to find the props on this, go over the 2.5 rounds, whatever you got to do. There's some money to be made there, man. So, but I'm taking Ige by TKO.
I think the big difference in that record, though, you were just saying, most of those losses for Dan Ige were against the upper echelon of the division. And every time he gets one of those fights against somebody that he's a favorite or even kind of not expected, but has a big potential to win, he always wins those ones. Whenever he gets in there against the upper echelon guys, he usually has a tough time. So
yeah, because his losses were to, like, what, Chan Sung Jung, Calvin Cater, I think it was.
Yeah.
Who was the other?
Oh, it's all the upper echelon. Like, it's
All
the
the
top.
upper
It's the top guys and all top 10 guys.
Josh Emmett, I think, was more recent one, right?
Yep. Yeah. So for Nate Landwehr, it's really I don't want to say like a put up or shut up moment, but it's really like he's facing a potential somebody you could view as a gatekeeper to the top 10 in this fight.
I'm gonna put it like this. I'm gonna go with Ige, but I'm gonna tell you right now, the number one thing that I preach on this show all the time is momentum. And that's something that Nate Landwehr's got right now, because even in that loss that he had before the fight that he had just won, dude has been in some fucking banger fights. And the fact that he survived those, I guarantee you he comes into this fight a lot more willing to bang, a lot more willing to trade, and a lot more willing to mix it up, because he's going to have more confidence in his overall skills. That said, I think Dan Ige gets the dub in this one, but do not sleep on this fight. Like these guys said, I feel like fight of the night is not too far out of the realm of possibility on this one. So it's definitely a fight that I'm looking forward to seeing. Now, this next fight, I have been singing this guy's praises since he was on the Contender Series. I knew about him before he got on the Contender Series, and I feel like not enough people have woke up and seen it yet. And I feel like this dude is dangerous because he can either knock you out or put your ass to sleep. I feel like Mike Malott versus Adam Fugit is going to be a interesting fight. I think the odds are right. I'm going Mike Malott. Oh, Canada, all the way in this motherfucker.
Malott's got a lot of hype behind him too, man. And he's got a good fan base. He's very technical and good. I like what Adam brings as well, though. I think that's another fight, though, that might surprise you. Fight of the night, and then go to war. But I think Malott gets it for sure.
And he's the jiu-jitsu coach at Team Alpha Male too. Like, that's the thing. To be a coach at a high-level spot like that, I mean, that's telling you the level of what they expect for Malott as well. Go ahead, Corey.
I did not know that was the case, that he was coaching over there. That even is more impressive, because his style up to this point hasn't really relied too much on his jiu-jitsu.
Hasn't had to.
I'm very curious to see if the hype train in both the last one with Nate the Train and in this one continues with Mike Balot, because to your point, he gets a big win, pay-per-view main card at home on Canadian soil. There's nothing bigger than that for somebody like him to continue the ascension towards the top. So hopefully for his sake, he gets it done. But I feel like Adam Fuget's somebody that's not he might not be known by a ton of people, but I feel like he's somebody that doesn't necessarily give up on himself in there. So it's still going to be an incredibly tough fight, either way.
Yeah, this fight ain't going the distance. This one ain't going the distance, that's for sure. But I'm taking him a lot.
Yeah.
Like you said, man, Canadian boy, they're gonna be cheering loud for him, man. So I'm gonna take
Canada. It might be a good net to be betting on Canada. Get you some loonies and get you some toonies. All right. Well, with this next fight, before we make our picks on this one, I say it every time this guy fights. I have a whole new respect for Charles Oliveira. I was not the biggest fan of him when he fought our guy Miles Jury and missed weight. So I admit he has turned and made a believer out of me since he went to 155. That being said, I just want to throw this stat out to you guys before we get to this fight. Charles Oliveira is 0-4 in Canada, with all of them being finished every time. So just gonna throw that out there. My man's is 0-4 against a dark. He's 0-4 against a dark horse guy like Beneil Dariush. I was talking with our guy Jimmy Smith today on his show, and I threw this out there. So, Jimmy, I'd love to hear your thoughts after I throw this out here. The thing that I think makes this fight most interesting to me is we all know the submission prowess of Oliveira. Everybody knows that. But here's the thing that makes this fight so interesting to me. Do I think that Dariush is necessarily going to submit Oliveira? No, I don't. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. I think that Dariush can arguably out-wrestle Oliveira. So, meaning if he can continue to get himself back on his feet and Oliveira isn't able to use those submissions that he's talking about, and it breaks down into a striking match, well, then we've got a whole nother game, because we've seen that Dariush can still crack. And the thing that makes this fight so interesting to me is that Oliveira has shown that, yes, he can crack, but he leaves himself open to get hit a lot. And I feel like for Oliveira to be anywhere in the conversation for the next title shot, he has to win by a finish. I think if Dariush wins, period, he's getting the next title shot. But I think Oliveira is going to need a finish. And I think to do that against a guy like Dariush, with all the things I just mentioned, makes this fight a whole hell of a lot more interesting. What are you thinking about this one, Jimmy?
I am thinking 0-5 is over the horizon, because I like Dariush. Like you said, his wrestling is really good and better than Charles. He's not afraid to get in a fight. And, I never thought Makhachev was going to submit Charles Oliveira either. And he did, dude. And he straight dominated him using his wrestling. And I think if Dariush does the same thing, he found the game plan to beat Oliveira at 155. So, and man, that guy's been jacked around so much that, like, he honestly feels if he wins this one and can't, he will get that title shot. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does finish him, but I would say in the third round after he wears on Charles, and he'll get the job done. Not by decision. I got Dariush today.
Yeah.
I like it.
Seems like the majority of the fans are going towards Dariush on this one as well. I think for Charles Oliveira, though, he has a huge chance at redemption with this one. I think whether or not he gets a finish or not, unless it's just a dull performance, I don't think it necessarily has to be a finish to get another shot at the belt. I think the way that he lost to Makhachev, it wasn't necessarily, it didn't look like his night. It didn't look like he was necessarily super outskilled. It just looked like he just wasn't performing to his level out there, or at least that's what I've seen. And for Dariush, of course, the guy that's been slept on for all this time, now he's finally getting the fanfare and stuff. And I feel like he's at that cusp of the title shot. Literally, he's one fight away now. but he's in this spot where he's fighting the guy who was just holding the belt, who I believe right now is the number 2 guy at 155. And it really, to me, depends on which version of Charles Oliveira do we see. Does he go in there and look like he did against Dustin Poirier, where he kind of just puts it on somebody? You know, like, I feel like if he does that, it may be a different fight than a lot of people are thinking. I feel like Dariush, to your point, both of you guys, his wrestling is better, but I feel like Charles Oliveira he's nastier with the striking. I feel like Dariush is very like not plotting, but like he hurts people and then throws a bomb and gets them out of there. Where Charles Oliveira, he just throws a bomb and gets them out of there. There is no like setting it up or anything. He just hits you.
He's
with
more
one
calculated.
Crazy. Yeah,
Dariush is more calculated.
Absolutely. But I feel like in a fight where, to your point, if the jiu-jitsu game and the ground game in general ends up kind of neutralizing itself, man, the power for me in this one's 50-50. I want Dariush to win as a fan. I want to see him get his rightful shot at the belt, which I feel like he shouldn't even have had to go through this fight to get. But that being said, I feel like this is very much a 50-50 fight in my head.
I agree.
And I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on Charles Oliveira with the fact that they're blinded by their fandom of Dariush in the fact that he should be getting the title shot and stuff. But I feel like skill-wise, these guys are both very comparable.
J-Bone, what you think?
I'm with that, man. Like Kyle, we talk momentum all the time, man. Oliveira, 11 out of last 12. Okay, that's huge. And Dariush, past 8 in a row, you're coming in, but you're fighting a guy in the wrong spot right now because we all know Oliveira can finish it anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's on the ground, on the feet, on your back. It don't matter. He's very dangerous, whereas Dariush is more of a strategic fighter. Oliveira could end it just like that. And I think that's what's going to happen, man. It's going to go – I'm gonna say we're going to round 3, but I think Oliveira is going to sleep him. I really think that's going to happen. Hey, look, I'm a Dariush fan just like you guys are too, man. I love to see Dariush get the title shot. He's one fight away, just one win away, but it's just the wrong guy right now. So that's just where I'm at on it. So
I think if you believe this whole arc that he's going for with the redemption, the fact that he feels like he can get the belt back and become the rightful champ in his eyes.
And like you said, Corey, I think that last fight, it just wasn't his night. Everybody, when you win 11 in a row, you're bound to have an off night, right? Mm-hmm. Eventually, you're going to have a bad fight. And he just had – look at the guys he beat just before that. It was Gaethje, Chandler. Who else did he beat just before that?
Poirier.
Top tier guys.
Yep.
Poirier, right?
And then
top
level. He ran through literally the
and then you had Ferguson. Yeah, he ran through the who's who in the elite of the sport. So you had one bad night, man. So the fact that people are kind of putting him on his back here, I feel like it's going to make him more dangerous, and we're going to see him redeem himself.
He's saying people are going to fuck around and find out. Well, we got our main event. You got Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana from Mexico. We could have another Mexican world champ, although I have to say, I don't think it's going to be in this one. I don't think that I see anybody beating Amanda Nunes. This is no disrespect to Irene Aldana, but I feel like all Juliana Pena did was piss Nunes off is what I feel like happened, and I feel like she will be keeping the belt in this one. That being said, the fact that she also trains with the other Mexican-born champion, Alexa Grasso, I feel like is a very interesting thing there because that championship pedigree, and again, like you just said, J-Bone, I'm a big fan of momentum and things like that, and being part of that team, that's going to be a great team to be part of that energy. But that said, I think the belt stays with Amanda Nunes.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Can't hear him.
I can't hear him.
Nope.
Nope. Let me see if I
lost sound.
Try it one more time.
What about now?
Now I hear you. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, but I said I'm taking Amanda Nunes, and I think Amanda finishes there too. I think, like you said, she's just pissed off, and she's about to maul her. And I think, Aldana, she won her last fight where she got taken down by what's her name, and she landed the beautiful up kick that landed to the liver. outside of that, I don't know what would have happened in that fight. And she was not fighting Amanda Nunes. So I think she's going to get mauled in this one, and Amanda's going to make a statement.
Yeah, I think people are kind of blinded by that finish. That's a real good point. I was going to put that in my analysis as well. Is people forget that she was on the ground in a very disadvantaged position, and she, in my opinion, threw a lucky shot. I mean, you can say that was skill all you want, but she did hit the liver with an up kick, which you don't see every day. That's for sure.
Oh,
But
it was
the
a
fact
badass
that-
shot.
Yeah, but
There's
the
no
fact
arguing that.
the fact that shut her down from the top position, that was just as impressive as that clip you were showing earlier, in my opinion.
Won't argue
But
that
this
either,
is-
because again, I've said it for years. The liver shot's the worst punch I've ever taken in my life.
Yeah, but the fact that she was able to hit that from that position, I do kind of. It was similar. If we're talking Mexican champions right now, it was real similar to what Yair was able to hit in the last second against Korean Zombie. It was something like that, a little bit of luck mixed in with some, throwing.
And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. All right.
Hey, sometimes you got to throw them for the shots to land, and that's what both of them did in that circumstance. But that being said, I feel like if we continue to see Amanda Nunes, who is hungry, wants to maintain her belt, maintain her position, maintain her legend in the sport, she'll win. If we see her let off the gas pedal at all and kind of take family life and kind of take a step back from the cage, outside of the sport, then I feel like there's definitely more of a shot for Aldana to walk out of there with the belt. But skill-wise, no. Nunes is more skilled. She's got more powerful striking. Aldana's got decent striking, but I just don't. It's not at the same level. It's not at all like power-wise.
She's the GOAT as far as female fighters go, bro. Let's just call her what it is. I mean, there's nobody else that's fucking with her. She beat Valentina. Valentina would be the next closest person to have had any type of run like she did. I mean, at this point, I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that Amanda Nunes is the GOAT. Now, to say that she's just going to run through her, no, I don't think she's just going to run through her. That said, I think she's keeping the belt.
Yeah, but we just watched my girl Valentina lose her belt
again. I'm with you, and they're on the same team. I just said that.
So
most unpredictable sport in the world. That's why we call it that, right?
They're on the same team. I just said that, so I feel you. But J-Bone, who you got?
Oh, come on, man! I'm taking. I'm just kidding. I'm taking Nunes. Most powerful, accurate fighter in the world, man. Come on. I mean, hey, she's accuracy wise, dude. She don't
Bullshit.
miss.
He'll have a parlay that's got Aldana in it too, trying to make money too. Don't let him.
I gotta sprinkle some money. I gotta sprinkle some money over here just in case. Just in case.
Okay, Yanni, the Greekie's got to sprinkle some. Well, dude, we have kept you for quite a while. I am looking forward to seeing this bitch go down on June 17th. It's going to be great to see you getting back in the cage, you versus Costa. If you've got any last words for your opponent or a prediction for your fight, do we got a brick prediction like a Mystic Mac prediction?
My prediction is always the same, and that's the finish. So we're in an MMA fight. We wear 4-ounce gloves. Obviously, I ain't got no knock on my record, but, hey, eventually it's going to happen. That's all I'm saying.
Get it.
So if not, I'm always going to look to finish the fight. That's all I care about is finishing, because then I ain't got to worry about no judges. I hate the judges. They don't always get it right. Whether we like it or not, they're doing their job, but it'd be easier if they didn't have to. So that's what I do. I try to finish the fight. And you can see, like, my last 12 fights, it's been finished or get finished. So I usually don't hit the scorecards. I just want to give a shout out to all my sponsors for the support: Harvest Health, the Parlor Hair and Ink, Tulsa Sport Acupuncture, Skating Ring in Sand Springs, Ryan BJJ, CrossFit Sand Springs, HKA USA, Inkwell Printing, Forza Combat Sports, Industrial Motor Services, Polar Law, Broadway Barbershop, International Crematory Service. I told him I got to send them a body. So that's the plan. Next step, I send them a body over there to the International Crematory Services. Shout out to Taylor Hohenfeld from Cohen and Chinawal Realtor. So all my sponsors for the support, all my fans, y'all for bringing me on. And if anybody wants any brick merchandise, hit me up. I still got some left, and I'm trying to get rid of it before my fight. So follow me on Instagram at The Brick MMA. I'm even on TikTok at The Brick MMA. I'm on Instagram or Twitter at Jimmy Flick, and then my fan page, Jimmy the Brick Flick.
This man gets around, be dropping them bricks June 17th. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're in the Chi-Town area that weekend, you can catch us where they're swinging light tubes and we're throwing down in cages. Until next time, and in the in-between time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Peace.